Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 924A, and today's date is March 21st, 2016, and the title of the episode is, Nothing Has Changed. The Global Economic Problems Are Hidden in the Shadows. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Let's head on out to Greece, and we understand out in Greece that the situation has not improved whatsoever. We know that the ECB is calling to phase out the $500 euro, and we know here in the United States they're looking to get rid of the $100 bill, and they're pushing this agenda to try to convince everyone that we need to go to a cashless society. Now remember, out in Greece, the people were very, very nervous, and they decided to take their currency out of the bank, and a lot of them took these 500 euro notes, and they stored them away outside of the bank because they were afraid that what happened in Cyprus, where they had bail-ins, it was going to happen in Greece. And they took all of their funds out of the banks because they were very nervous about this. So right now, the Greeks who attempt to exchange their $500 euro note for smaller bills will now have their transaction and personal data recorded by the bank, and they're also getting charged to hand in their $500 note because they heard that they're going to be getting rid of it. It'll be obsolete, and they're trying to exchange it at this point. So they're trying to keep track of all these people who have their currency outside of the bank. Now, of course, they're going to be saying, well, this is for record keeping. No, it's to track and to remember who has this, so when the time comes, they can go after those people. And it might be a good idea for all of you who are storing cash in a nice place where it's hidden from everyone else to keep smaller bills. Don't keep such large bills. Keep smaller bills. And this way it makes it a lot easier to purchase things later on. So you don't have to use these larger bills. And if they do a recall of larger bills, you can still hold on to the smaller bills. And you should still also have gold and silver to protect your wealth. Now we see the Eurozone consumer confidence. It defied market expectations. Now they thought that the Eurozone consumer confidence was going to do a lot better than it actually did. The Commission said consumer confidence in the 19 countries sharing the euro fell 0.9 points to negative 9.7 in March against February, and was 0.7 points lower at negative 7.3 in the wider 28-nation European Union. And we see consumer confidence not just in Europe but in the United States. It has also dropped because people are starting to realize there's something majorly wrong with the economies, that things are not right. There's huge unemployment. There's a huge amount of debt, and things are not improving. Yeah, you might see the stock market going up, but that's completely manipulated and controlled to keep the illusion alive. But the real economic indicators are showing us that things are not really improving whatsoever. Now, Moody's came out and they said the Eurozone debt is going to barely fall by the end of the decade. And translation to that is that the debt is going to rise as we move forward, because guess what? More of these countries, as more and more people are unemployed, will not have revenue coming into the country. They will need more of the debt, just like Greece, just like Cyprus, just like Portugal, just like France, and this will continue on. There's no way that they can start paying this down. And this is why they always push it out like, oh yes, don't worry, after a decade, they'll be able to pay this off. No, they won't. Go back to 2008. Has it gotten any better? Have these countries paid off the debt? Well, yes, in Iceland, when they threw all the bankers and the corrupt politicians and they wiped out a lot of the debt and started to create their own currency without the private Western Central Bank, yes, their currency improved. But if they're still controlled with the private Western Central Bank, guess what? Each one of these countries are doomed. Now, here in the States, we see existing home sales. They have plunged by 7.1% month-on-month in February. They massively missed expectations. They thought it was only going to be a 3% drop. So when we look back in time, we saw that in the beginning of the year, or towards the end of 2015, we had this huge surge of existing home sales, and now it dropped right back down to where it was. And if you look at existing home sales, new home sales, they have gone absolutely nowhere. They pump it up, and it falls right back down. Now, we're starting to see that the median prices are starting to fall now, and it's as time goes on, they're continually declining. I look around the country, and I'm noticing that in the northern eastern area, the Midwest, the West, people have their homes on the market longer and longer. The prices are continually coming down. Because what we're seeing right now is that this is a housing bubble. This bubble was created not by the people. They're sitting on the sidelines. This was created by the central banks. They instructed the banks and said, listen, do not let the foreclosures hit the market. Keep them off the market. We had hedge funds, investment companies, purchasing thousands and thousands of homes, holding on to them, renting them out. The Fed bought up trillions of toxic real estate. This whole thing was created by the central bank to make everyone believe that we are absolutely fine and there's nothing wrong with the economy. So, what is an economic bubble? Well, it's a market phenomenon characterized by surges in asset prices to levels significantly above the fundamental value of that asset. And we are definitely in another housing bubble. First, most Americans can't afford to buy a home without utilizing artificially low interest rates. And even then, they are stretching their budgets that like a big rubber band. They just can't do it. Second, home prices are surging in the face of stagnant household incomes. As more and more people lose their jobs, as more and more people get part-time jobs, we notice that household incomes are stagnant. They're not going up. People are not getting raises. So how are housing prices continually going up? It makes no sense. This is the biggest sign of a bubble. The underlying asset in housing is moving up even though incomes are not. So what's driving the prices up? Well, you know what it is. Speculation, flipping, hedge funds, investors, where they're just coming into the market, doing whatever they possibly can to hold on to the houses, not sell them, flip them. We saw this back in 2008. And we see it happening once again. This is the ultimate sign of a housing bubble. Home ownership right now is near generational lows. And we can see that as home prices increase, incomes are falling. We see housing prices going up, new home sales, existing home sales falling. Something isn't right. This market is completely manipulated, and it doesn't even make sense. This is why traffic right now is drying up in the major areas. Now remember, the central bankers can't touch every single area in the country. They concentrate on certain cities, and they take all their force and they put it into those cities. The rest of the country, that's where the real economic indicator, that's where it's really happening. And when you look in certain areas, you can see it. You see that there is no traffic. You see people having their homes on the market longer and longer, and there's a lot of people writing into me telling me, yes, in my area, I do see this now, where prices are coming down, they can't move the houses, and it is getting worse and not better. The Baltic Dry Index is at 398. It climbed about 3 points. We're seeing that it's hovering right at the 400 mark right now. And we see the Chicago's Fed's National Activity Index. Now, this is a gauge to let us know how the overall economic activity is doing. And it plunged back into contraction at negative 0.29, near 2-year lows. So it's signaling us along with all the other economic indicators, letting us know that this economy that we're in right now, it is not improving whatsoever. The only thing that's improving, if you really think about it, is the market and the suppression of precious metals. It's to convince everyone that everything is fine, and they don't report on anything else that's going on in the economy. Now, we're starting to hear from a lot of the banks that their clients are not believing this rally. Bank of America, we reported on this, that clients don't believe the rally. They're continually selling stocks. The smart money is getting out of the market right now. The central bank, they're pumping it up, trying to get people into the market, and it's not working. And we see the high-frequency traders, the plunge protection team, they're basically the market at this time. And we see out of JP Morgan, investors are yanking more money out of equities. And when you look at this, the smart money has now sold stocks in the face of this bear market rally for a near record 7 consecutive weeks. So the question everyone should be asking is, has anything really changed in the economy in the last 3 months? Because we opened up this year in January where the market was completely down. And then we see over time the market was pumped up. So what has really changed? Has anything changed in the global economy? Has anything changed in the US? Has anything changed in Canada, in Australia, in UK? Do we see any changes anywhere in the economy, in the debt level? Actually, we do. We see the economic indicators pointing to an economy that's accelerating on the downside. We don't see improvements in the real economic indicators. The only improvement we see is in the stock market, where the central bankers, the U.S. government, they have the ability to control it. They have the ability to suppress precious metals. This is all they have. They have nothing else. And they're going to keep this alive until the very end. And this tells us nothing. When we look at what's really going on in the economy, we see things are definitely getting worse. They're falling apart. They're collapsing. And the corporate media, the U.S. government, the central bankers, they don't even want to touch it. They're not even going to look at it, because all they say is, look at the stock market, look at the stock market. And this is why everyone needs to be prepared at this time. They even had Bernanke come out and tell us that the economy's doing fine. Stop worrying about negative interest rates. And we know once he comes out and says something, because he told us back in 2008 that he wasn't forecasting any type of recession anytime soon, when we had the recession in the same exact year, and he told us the subprime was completely contained, we know right now that this is a lie. So if you are preparing, continually prepare. Do not stop. I talked about sunny days. Everyone's going to forget about all these sunny days when we have this major storm and it rips the entire economy apart. So continually get your food, get your water, get your gold and silver, have a weapon to protect your family. Do not stop what you're doing. If you haven't started or you're continually doing it, you can still go to lifereliance.com. They have water filtration systems, they have seeds, they have food. You can customize your order. But whatever you're doing, continually do it. Do not stop. Because we're going to be hit with this storm. It's going to be horrific. And it's going to be a disaster. Think about when Hurricane Sandy hit the eastern seaboard. All those sunny days that everyone had was completely forgotten because the entire area was devastated. People lost their homes. People had no electric. They couldn't get food. They had no heat. There were people roaming the streets, robbing different homes. And no one remembered All those days they said, oh, don't worry, hurricanes like this never hit the eastern seaboard. It was all forgotten. The same thing's going to happen with this economic collapse. When it hits, all those people that said, it could never happen, we'll never see an economic collapse. 2008, that's all we saw. There was nothing else is going to happen. Everyone's going to disappear, and you'll be left standing there, not prepared. And this is why you need to be prepared. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.